So I'm Iris. I'm the volunteer facilitator for this group. I used to be a staff of Out Saskatoon.
Hello and welcome to Season 8, Episode 9 of YXC Underground. I'm Eric Anderson and welcome to Out Saskatoon's Newcomer Support Group.
Work. So I left Out Saskatoon, but my heart is still here. And my heart is to work with, I was a newcomer, so, not the same journey, but I could understand the struggle. So here I am.
It's a snowy, bitterly cold Thursday night in April. But in the Out Saskatoon headquarters, their main gathering space is packed with people from across the world.
The group has grown so much bigger. So before we start on this group,
this support group started last May and offers LGBTQ newcomers and refugees a safe space to not only learn about Saskatoon and Canada, but as you will hear in this episode, the group is providing community and friendship to those who attend. Once a month, Iris Akbar welcomes people to the group and leads them through different topics and activities. It could be an art activity or a discussion on how best to survive a Saskatchewan winter. On this night, Iris has invited Two-Spirit Elder Shelley Belhumeur to speak and share about Indigenous knowledge and history. Shelley begins the night by asking people to introduce themselves and share where they are from. Most people in the room are from African nations such as Nigeria and Ghana. A young man named Darrell is from Cameroon. He moved to Saskatoon 3 years ago and has not missed a meeting since the group started last May.
I've been coming here because when I come here, I really feel free. Because from in my country we are persecuted, so they don't want us, the government, the population, the religious, everything. So that is why I always like coming here, because I can see my siblings who are like me and we can share and talk and discuss. Yeah, this was very important because when I started, I was firstly psychologically, I was really overthinking psychologically and stuff, because mostly all my friends, my family members abandoned me, and I was just alone, and I had a place where I can feel where I could talk, so that is it.
When you see so many people from all over the world coming together, how does that make you feel?
Yeah, I feel good. That is what they call intercultural exchange. So I can know about their culture. You just heard what the Ghanaian lady was talking, and then the Nigerian lady was also talking about her culture. So they share culture and they see similarities of where everything starts and goes on. Even the other lady, I forgot her name, the Métis one, she also share what she knows about her culture, the Japanese culture, and they will just check the examination and just see if it's similar or not, and then we go. Yeah.
Have you seen friendships come from this group? Other, when people maybe come 2 or 3 times, can you see friendships starting to spark a bit?
Yeah, I've seen many people having they come here and they have some friends. So yeah, some group of friends come out from here for sure.
A lot of people, the way they dress, some folks may dress like a man and a woman, but some, they look men presenting, but they wear woman clothing.
The person behind this newcomer support group is Iris Akbar. Iris, who uses he/she pronouns, immigrated to Saskatoon with his partner from Singapore, a country where same-sex marriage and civil unions are not recognized. Iris started the newcomer support group in May of 2025. As you will hear, what started as a small gathering has now grown into a vibrant collection of people who are eager to learn about their new home and make meaningful connections. The episode features a conversation I had with Iris a few weeks ago after I met him at the newcomer support group. We met at Taste Buds Cafe on Lorne Avenue on a beautiful sunny day. So nice, in fact, that we actually sat out on the patio. You will also meet people who were at the newcomer support group that chilly April evening and hear why this group means so much to them. Let's start with Iris explaining the origins of the newcomer support group.
We noticed newcomers start coming to our organization, and one of the things that they come for is that, hey, I'm gay, I'm looking for a place, just a place, to hang out, or to know what programs or events you have. Or they come to Out Saskatoon, or they call Out Saskatoon and say that I want to be a member. And it's so cute because when they think about membership, they thought that like they pay $10 membership and they'll get this like a membership card, and that can show them that like you're gay, you know. So we always have to like, and then we always have to explain to them that you paying a membership entitles you to use some of the facilities, for example, like borrowing books, like videos, VCD or DVDs, or also have a voting for our board memberships. So those are the kind of like perks for membership, but they thought that it's really just a card to show them that they are gay. So I find that my colleague who is the administration or a person who answers phone call always have to explain it to them, and they kind of like not satisfied with that, because like what else can I do? So the other thing I noticed is that they were also requesting for a letter of support, because for folks, most of them are refugees. So, and if they flee their country based on discrimination for being queer or gay, they do need to narrate that story or show some evidence that they were gay back then and they were gay while in Canada, right? So that's why they needed letter of support, and we begin to receive more requests. So I, as a counselor and as later on a support services manager, I actually invite them for one-on-one interview. Like, oh, you need letter of support. Okay, tell me more about your story. Like, what is happening? And I listen to their really hard story, harmful, trauma-based, like filled with trauma, and and their reasons for like fleeing their home country. And one of the things that they always share with me is that they are here alone. Some of them go through, they actually can stay in Canada for a year or two, being a refugee while they process all of this, and the only connection they have is people back in their country, maybe with their children, their parents, or like friends, but not many people, community here in Canada, in Saskatoon. So I explore them, and a lot of, like, quite a number of them share stories about like going through anxiety, experiencing depression, having symptoms of trauma, but they do not know where to get help from. So just through that one-on-one interaction with me, I'm able to direct them to resources. They start coming to our counseling. And then one of the ideas I thought that like, hey, you know what? I have this number. At a period of time, I have probably about 8 or 9 newcomers who I have like interacted with. And I was like, 9? We can make a support group, So, I asked them like, what do you all think about like, having a support group, and of course, because majority of them come from the African continent, one of the things I have to tell them is that safety. When you come to this group, people will see you and people will know that you are gay, or whether they do not know whether you're gay, but maybe you are associated to, being queer. And they all say, yeah, okay, I don't care. They were so in great need to connect, have a place to feel safe, that they said yes. And that was how it started. I started planning in April of 2015, and then not 2015, 2025, and that was when May 2025 we had our first group. So yeah, this month is actually 1 year.
Oh, Iris, congratulations on the year anniversary. Yes. Do you remember what that first meeting was like?
We had 5 members who came. And these are all like members that, because I've been running groups for out Saskatoon. We had art therapy, I was doing counseling, and I was also doing this interview for letter of support. So I've got like different newcomers from different pockets of programs, and I just sent them an email and say that, hey, we're gonna possibly have this newcomer support group, and we're gonna meet for the first time. Yeah, just come. I didn't expect anything. I expect whether there's nobody coming or maybe 1 or 2 people, but we had 5 people who came. And we talked to them about like, hey, what do you all think about if we put this? And one of them said, Iris, if this continue, your group will grow. Your group will grow because there is really a need. And he said that I know a lot of newcomers like myself, like especially refugee from Africans. We are looking for a place, So we may start as 5, but it will grow, They were the one who actually give me that, assurance, I was like, you know what? I told them, at this moment, let's just do what we can do. So then we meet again next month. We had 8. And then we meet again for the 3rd time. We had 16. And then we meet again. And then we had 24. So the groups has since then consistently stayed at around 20 to 25 people every meeting. Yeah.
Well, and that really blew me away too, because the night that I was able to spend time with you and your group, I think there was close to 30 people in the room, plus there was 7 or 8 online. Yes. On a Zoom, and that was the night that we had a huge blizzard. There was a small part of me that thought oh, maybe I should just go next month, because I didn't I didn't want to leave my house, but I'm so glad I did. Yes. But the fact that so many people, it's just a year under your belt, but the fact that so many people are coming to this group, what do you how does that make you feel?
I always tell folks, I feel very warm. It's like a warm blanket, to see how the group has grown. Before I started this group, actually I was very privileged. I was invited by Rainbow Railroad, one of the Rainbow Refugee, one of the group, because they were having a Canada-wide meeting to talk about LGBTQ plus issue in terms of refugee issue, migrant and newcomers. So I was invited there, and I wanted to learn more about how to set up newcomer support group. And I met people from Edmonton, I met people from Toronto, and particularly in Edmonton, the newcomer center there has something like that. They have already started, and they were telling me about they were so excited to know that there's possibility something is going to happen in Saskatoon. So they were like, do it, start it, And I was like, tell me more, what's happening there? And then they were like, every time we have a meeting, we need to strategize and book a space because our numbers are so big. And I asked them, how big is your number? 200 to 300 people. And I was like, really? I was like, you know what? That will not be happening in Saskatoon, And as far as I know, for Saskatoon, our Saskatoon program, maybe we can have 15 people, coming. But right now, our group is the biggest when it comes to attendance of group. And also, our youth program is also quite big. Sometimes we have about 16 to 30. So for adult program, it's not a competition, I must say, but the numbers tells you the need, right? Our youth program, maybe we can have about 10 to 30. We used to have 30 youth in a place. That shows a need, and now it's also another need.
My name is Anna. I'm Ghanaian, so I'm from Ghana, and been in Canada for this. I'm almost in my 3rd year, so yes. And I mostly come here most of the time because it also works on my schedule, and I'm a big advocate for the LGBTQ community. I think that is something that is not really spoken of back home. So I'm very vocal about it. I always say that you don't have to be scared. You have to, you should always be open to talk about it. And I'm actually a very strong advocate of females trying to try other things. So yes.
Why is this so important to you then?
Well, I think personally, I'm somebody that's how should I say it? I'm very outspoken, firstly, and also like I'm very open-minded. I tend to understand people, and I feel like life shouldn't have to be lived strictly. It should be lived freely. So that is something I'm really of the view of. So, yes.
Anna, have you been to these groups, like these group sessions at Saskatoon before, or is tonight your first night?
Well, tonight is not my first night. I've been here a couple of times, but it was when I moved to Saskatoon that was when I started joining. Yeah, and it was through a friend that introduced me to the group. So, yeah.
What keeps you coming back? Why do you like it?
I think I like the conversations, and like I said, the times work for me, and I'm very open to learning new culture and also meeting new people to make new friends.
Okay. I wanted to ask about that because there, it was so interesting when everyone was going around the table, sharing where they were from, and people are from all over the world, which is so neat. Is it nice to meet as a newcomer? Is it nice to meet people from different parts of the world that are kind of going through the same things? Perhaps you are, in terms of getting used to a new culture here in Saskatoon and dealing with very cold, snowy weather outside.
Well, firstly, Saskatoon is very cold, and I don't like the weather. I always say Saskatoon weather is bipolar. Like, just let me know. Are you? Yeah. So that's just by the way. Actually, yes. Like you get to meet Nigerians, Ghanaians. I just heard that one guy is from Cameroon, and I think the other time I met a Ukrainian lady. So I think it's very diverse for everybody. Yeah.
Last question for you. Why do you think this group for newcomers is important?
For newcomers that are in the LGBT group, I think here is very accommodating, and also I just like the way it is not so out there, because a lot of people are still trying to find their identity. So I just like the way it's really hard to spot that this is like an LGBT group meeting. So that is like actually a good thing, because like I said, most of us are from countries where it is mostly frowned upon. So knowing that, okay, me coming here, people are not going to know that I'm coming here. And I feel like later when you come here, it gives you the confidence to now talk about it freely and to also introduce people that are in the LGBT. Yeah.
Has being here given you more confidence, Anna?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Before, when I started, like I was very timid, I was very shy, but now I don't really care. I say what I have to say, and yeah. So I think the teachings are really good. They're open. It makes you like open-minded to life and also being true to yourself. Yeah.
So it is called support group, but actually it's not really. It's actually more like an educational group at first, because because I am in a counseling and psychology background, so I don't believe in throwing people right into a group that they're not familiar with, and particularly to newcomer. My priority with like supporting newcomer is to acknowledge the Indigenous knowledge and the culture that they should have. Because as a newcomer, some of the things that I observe, I was privileged because I came to Canada and I did my postgraduate in University of Regina. So I received like Indigenous knowledge based from the educational institution, right? I learned about like what is land acknowledgement. I learned the importance of, even as a queer person, what is pronouns, right? I learned about like respecting the Indigenous culture, why we are trying to focus a lot on being Indigenous centered, right? Because of the history of Canada. So I was very much privileged. And then I compare my experience with my wife. My wife, she came because I'm here. At that time, she's not my wife, she's my like girlfriend. In Singapore, they don't acknowledge same-sex marriage, right? She come from a perspective of like majority of who newcomer is, not from an institution. She came to work, and and that is how she oriented around Canada. And I find that, in order for her to learn about Indigenous knowledge, culture, and all that, she have to be active. She have to find. And there was this time that she told me, there is a deep bias and discrimination about Indigenous people in her workplace. And in a way, she's privileged because I told her that those kind of thinking and mindset is not right, because you need to understand. And I share with her the history and stuff like that. And she's like, yeah, okay. But that shows that, Canadian themselves, hold this kind of mindset and stuff. So I begin to think that, like, if my wife are receiving this kind of messages, then it's not a healthy environment for a newcomer to actually come here and hold those kind of negative thinking about Indigenous people, right? About the First Nation. So that's why when I started the newcomer support group, the first we started in May. But because it was close to June, so our program was in June was about orientating around Pride Parade. Yeah, we wanted to celebrate them. But then in July, they learn about what land acknowledgement is. So whenever I can, I try, and I would, like the session that you had. We also invited my former colleague Jack Saddlebird to do Two Spirit 101 with them. And then the last session we had Elder Shelley Belhumeur, to just have a casual conversation. So I'm trying to bridge that relationship between newcomer and Indigenous people, And my role, I find that also is to get them curious about the First Nations, and show them the resources, and even like, if we can explore even like partnerships and stuff like that, But it is just the beginning. So that was my objectives of the newcomer support group. More of an educational wise. We do have like moments that we really kind of other programs. We have art therapy, we have, I'm trying to remember, we did so many things. We had like one of the program out to swim, because one of the requests they said is that Iris is always us newcomer with each other, like we want to get to know the queer people. So I said, and I talked to my team, I was like, hey, you know what, it's summer, or it's coming to summer, do you want to have like a out to swim program where we just invite everybody, and go swimming for 3 hours. So August of 2025, we had out to swim, and quite a bit of the newcomer actually came and they interacted with the other queer people, and they were just so happy. There were so many photos that we had. So and then there are some programs that we talk about, like winter. How do you prepare yourself for winter? What to buy, what not to wear. So just all these like simple things, but they have someone to ask. They have people to ask each other. And in fact, like before, like the last session that you will ask, we had a member who actually come and say that, Iris, I need a lawyer, and I do not know where to look for, because his hearing is coming up. And then I was like talking to him, and then one member just passed. I was like, hey, come here. Do you have a lawyer? Then he was like, yes. Do you like your lawyer? And then he was like, it's not bad. Do you want to share your lawyer information? And that's how, and then they're like, oh yeah. They exchange number, and that is how like friendship, relationship built like slowly, within the group.
But that's such a great lead into my next question, because I so noticed that at the session I was at, like the presentation was wonderful, but then what I noticed too was, like, after everything was done, nobody really left. Everybody stayed and talked for like 10-15 minutes. Like you could see like those, maybe some friendships were already established and they're reconnecting, or they're curious and they're like, hey, you're brand new to Saskatoon, like let me help you out. Like those social interactions, that's like that was really neat to see. That must mean a lot to you.
Yes, it does means a lot to me. I'm beginning because most of them comes alone. Probably this is the first time that they feel affirmed being queer. So some of them have actually told me that they have started dating. Some of them had brought their partners into and their partners is also a fellow African. And I just feel that, can you imagine how liberating that is for them? Like, they are not being targeted. They are not being ashamed, of who they are. They are just being themselves, human, They can love. That's why, like, when we have like yourself coming in and like, oh, can I do a story? As much as I try to kind of tiptoe around confidentiality and their trauma, these people is just all ready to, like, if it is a safe place and safe person, and if it's also recommended by me, they are ready to just be out and proud.
Yes, and we were talking about that before we hit record. Like, I was so I was impressed, but also a bit surprised at how open so many of them were with me in terms of like sharing their stories, and I'm so appreciative that they did. But I had just met them, and and it can be intimidating talking into a microphone. But you bring up a good point. We did the conversations in a safe place, in a safe space, and they're surrounded by friends and within a community. Oh, that's really interesting.
Yes, correct. Yeah. So it's like you can see like the confidence, the blossom that they feel, they no longer hiding, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what we want, and I think that's what we have achieved for them, Yeah.
Hi, my name is Echeche Onu, but I'm called Echi, and originally from Nigeria, a middle belt, but I grew up in the northern part of Nigeria, and I'm so glad to be at Saskatoon and at out Saskatoon.
Why are you so glad?
Because, it's just a group that identifies with my personality, with my sexuality, and it's a group where I can freely express myself. Right, yeah, so.
Was that always the case in your life, in terms of being able to freely express yourself?
No, absolutely no. Coming from Nigeria, in the northern part of Nigeria, I've always lived in secrecy because it's not something you can freely express. There are consequences if your sexuality is known. You are basically going to be jailed for 14 years. It's not something you can be open about. You just have to either live in secrecy, and once it is exposed, you get to face the consequences of the law. And that's why I'm so happy that I'm here in Saskatoon. I'm here in a place where I can freely express myself and be myself without fear of being judged, and I'm just so glad. Yeah.
Echi, how long have you been in Saskatoon for?
Actually, I've been in and out of Saskatoon in the past. Previously, I used to come for like conferences and everything, but right now I kind of came to relocate. Like, my relocation started in November last year when my risk of safety escalated. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you're safe. This was so neat to be here and see how this group works. Was tonight your first time here at the group?
No, this is not my first time in the group. This is my third time. The third time I'm attending. The first time I came for a meeting, it was an artwork meeting, and then the second time we went to bargaining as a group, and then this is my third time attending. Yeah.
What keeps you coming back? Why do you keep coming back?
I just feel at peace. I just feel I identify with people who are like me. I feel I learn a lot. The first art meeting was something I enjoyed so much because I'm not into art like that. But then they gave us some tasks, and I was able to express myself through art. And today I'm here learning about the culture of the people, and it's so beautiful to know that there are cultures, similar cultures from my own background. And so, I feel it's a place where I can learn. It's a place where I can freely express myself. And it's a place where, I can get to know people and just be happy. Yeah.
May I ask you a question about Iris? You're the leader of this group, the facilitator. What makes Iris so good at what at what she does?
Iris is so good at administrative roles. She's good at planning. She's good at trying to bring everybody together and trying to make everyone feel safe and feel heard and known. And, she encourages us to speak and be confident. Now, that's because people come from places, different environments where they've been traumatized in different areas of their life because of their sexuality. Iris is so wonderful at trying to let us know that trauma is not the end of it. You have to grow beyond your trauma. You have to be able to express yourself. You have to be, she just constantly reminds us that this environment is safe for us.
I love that. Last question for you. Yeah. If there's someone that is maybe never heard of this group before and is curious about, maybe I should go and check it out, what would you say to them?
Of course, I would say Out Saskatoon is the best place to go to. Just go there and you will find all you need. Whatever questions you have, whatever fears you have, I am very sure Out Saskatoon is going to address them. Yeah.
It's so nice to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eric. And we hope you'll be back here. And we hope to see your face every time in our meeting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, there's for sure we have a lot more to do, because one of the things that I'm concerned about is immigration and refugee issue in Canada, right? Because a lot of these members, they will be going through like their hearing, refugee hearing, their trials. So due to the current political climate, queer people are facing lack of resources, just look at our Saskatoon. We are really running at a very limited capacity, but the need is so high. And it is the same as this particular group as well, Since leaving, venturing into other career, I'm no longer able to support, let's say with the letter of support. But I'm also very thankful because I have a group of former colleagues in our Saskatoon who are still passionate. We are still able to I'm not outstaffed anymore, but can we talk about this? And they're helping me, supporting me with different ideas to support this group of individuals because the numbers is there to show that there's a need, right? The City of Saskatoon, I must say also the Newcomer Support Group is sponsored by the City of Saskatoon. We got a grant. And through that grant, people who come to the group and taking the bus, the city reimbursed them for that meeting to and fro. Yeah. So, and whenever I tell them that, hey, City of Saskatoon, welcome you, and this is the grant they get, they feel so special. They are like, and then I'll just say that the food is also sponsored by them. Yeah. Giving you a moment.
Motorbike season. People are happy to get their bikes out.
Yeah, summer. So it was very important for me to actually tell them who is the sponsor of the program, because recognition is not just about the community, but it's also about the system, right? So they feel pretty special when to know that the City of Saskatoon sponsor our program, so they feel like they want to be participating and involved. So of late, what I noticed is that some of the members they want to be involved in the planning and the running of the group. So I have moved from leading the group of myself. We are already at the stage of already have a few people who are the committee members, and the committee member will then support me with running the group, and maybe in the future they are running themselves. So that is my dream. I don't have big dreams. I just want a group that is grassroots based, and live experience, people who experience it leading it. Majority of them are African refugees, who are familiar with their African culture. I am just there as an advisor because I'm Asian. What do I know about African culture and African food?
But I would say though, I hope you are proud of the fact that you have helped to create. Thank you. I hope you feel proud that you have helped to create a space where people are comfortable to be themselves and to ask questions and to make these meaningful connections. But I also think too, it speaks to your character, Iris, the fact that you want to empower the members to one day take it over like that. But I think that speaks a lot to your character as well.
Yes, correct. Yeah, because for me, I always believe that leadership should be passed, right? It's not a dictatorship, right? Correct. So and particularly when you are working in a community based, and if we learn about the Indigenous culture, right? Community, we support each other, we pass on the knowledge and the values with each other. So this is something that I'm just a small little spark that I use my privilege, I use my position, that I use the space to start this. But the one that keeps the wheels running, it could be them. Yeah.
Iris, it is such a pleasure to get to speak with you, and I'm so grateful that you invited me to the support group, and I got to meet so many amazing people. But yeah, it's just a privilege to get to speak with you today. So thanks, Iris, for everything.
Thank you, Eric, for reaching out to us.
This has been Season 8, Episode 9 of YXE Underground. My name is Eric Anderson. I host, produce, and edit this local independent podcast. You can listen to YXE Underground wherever you find your favorite podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or the website, yxeunderground.com. And if you want to learn more about the important work being done at Out Saskatoon, please visit their website at outsaskatoon.ca. If you have enjoyed this episode and are a fan of the podcast, please feel free to leave a glowing 5-star review and share it with your friends. Word of mouth is, I think, the best way to share podcasts, and so I really do appreciate your support in spreading the word about YXE Underground. You can also find YXE Underground on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Simply search YXE Underground. A few thank yous before I say goodbye. Thank you to my cousin, Andrew Dixon, for creating the original theme music for the podcast. Thank you to Saskatoon's Danger Dynamite for creating and maintaining the website. And thank you to Iris and the entire Newcomer support group for welcoming me with open arms. Before I go, I would like to acknowledge that these interviews were gathered on Treaty 6 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis. YXE Underground is a production of the Salthammer Production Company. My name is Eric Anderson. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you soon, Saskatoon.